If you're in your first 2 years as being an entrepreneur, I really, really want you to listen to this. I have 6x'd my net worth in the past 5 years. From 5 years ago, there are people that are still waiting to do their first deal who I talk to, who are waiting for that home run and have made no progress. They made zero progress because they were waiting for the perfect situation to come where they could swing at it. And I swung at every base hit possible. And it made all the difference. I probably only hit like 3 or 4 home runs in my whole career, but I've hit hundreds of base hits.
All right, welcome back to the Seven Figure Flipping Podcast. I'm so pumped. I have not just an amazing human with all kinds of bona fides and credentials and awesome stuff in real estate and as a leader, but also my friend, good friend, James Lascara. James, welcome to the show, man.
I'm so glad to be on, Adam. We've had a lot of these sessions and I'm looking forward to this one too.
Yeah, this is obviously special to me because you're in my inner circle, my very few, like very, very close friends. But what's special about you, obviously, well, maybe not obvious to other people, but obvious to me, is that you come from the military, not just anything, but you went to BUD/S, you became a Navy SEAL, you did that for over a decade in that industry before fully transitioning to entrepreneurship. Can you just tell us a little bit about that part of your journey?
Yeah. First thing I would say is it's inseparable. The kind of person that I was towards the tail end of high school and then into college, very driven, very focused, very disciplined kind of person. It was a pretty good fit for me entering the special operations field, and the things that I learned, the work ethic, the leadership of teams, the empowerment, the trusting, and just really operating as an organization at a high level is inseparable from the things that we've been blessed to accomplish in entrepreneurship the past 5 years. So I don't think I would have the business I have now if I hadn't done the things I did specifically in my military career.
Can you dive a little bit into, so you specifically talked about, I already had like a very disciplined approach. Why do you think that was? Like why were you disciplined prior to even going into the military? Was it your family? Was it your dad? Like how did you develop such a disciplined life at such an early age?
So both my parents are engineers, hyper logical household, not a lot of emotions getting thrown around. And I think I just started to draw sorry, hold on a second. What's the word I'm looking for here? I started to draw a connection between the input. If you put in a quality input, if you study and you get yourself ready for a test, you'll probably do better in school than if you don't do that thing. If you show up at the swimming pool ready for training, if you show up early and you do your stretches and you warm up right and you put a concerted effort into practice, you'll probably go and do better in your swim meet. And so, I started to like put these things together, and it was at the same time socially, I was watching a lot of people kind of get into the party scene, or in high school, maybe they kind of go off the path a little bit. They get into drugs or whatever. And I was like, I don't see how that input leads to a quality output. So I'm just going to do what I can control to give it a quality input. I think I just had the fortunate opportunity to learn that at a younger age than I think some people realize.
Yeah, so very, very clear to me, engineer mind, like input equals output. Like the better I can do on my input, the better the output I get, which is obviously works for you in school. Like in high school, you must have got good grades to be able to go to the Naval Academy. Okay, talk to me about did you know early on, and this is all super important to where your mindset is and why you are the way you are. Did you know early on you wanted to be a Navy SEAL when you went to the Naval Academy?
No, I didn't. I thought I might want to fly. So the Naval Academy, like the boot camp portion is called plebe summer. I think it's like 9 weeks or 10 weeks or something. And, you start that. You kind of like it. It's kind of terrible, but like in a fun way. Something about shared hardship and organization, like it's kind of dark and twisted, but you coming from the Marine Corps, you can definitely understand. You know what's crazy is I kind of miss it now. Like I don't have that anymore where you're like, you just do just terrible things, but it's fun because you do it together. It's really, I struggle to make sense of it. But I remember starting my freshman year, and what really kind of clued me into it was there were some seniors on the varsity swim team. I swam during my time in college. There were some seniors, and I mean, these were the kind of leaders that you really, really looked up to. Really good communicators, led by example. Establish a standard and expected people to uphold to it. And when you didn't, they gave you consequences. But in the way where they're like disappointed and you didn't want to disappoint them, not in a way that was like overbearing. And so I realized that all those leaders who I really looked up to, they were aspiring to go into the SEAL teams. And I was like, so what's up with that? And it just got me more and more inquisitive into it. And I will say initially, it was definitely the challenge and the overcoming of the challenge and wondering like, ooh, maybe I could be the type of person that does that. But then the more I learned about it, and especially between my junior and senior year, where you actually get to go TDY, if you're not in the military, you basically get like temporarily assigned for maybe 2 to 6 weeks or so with an actual SEAL organization, and you get to see what they do. You get immersed in kind of the culture and what they're doing in their training and in their normal life, their normal work life. And so once I got to do that, my perspective changed even more towards like, dude, it's not just operating at a high level. It's not just being around other people who do have elite expectations of themselves, but it's the leadership. It's the leadership. It's not just overcoming a challenge, but it's the leadership of that high drive, high capacity, get it done kind of person. And to me, that was like, I was sold. I was like, this is all I want to do.
And just spoke to your soul. Because I mean, it sounds like that's, your dad and your mom, obviously smart, driven people to, in their own right. So you kind of saw that modeled for you, and in the engineering space at least. Okay, so then you start to see, you get to go do your little tour with those guys a couple weeks. You're like, yep, they're elite. They hold high standards. I see the way they treat each other. I see the way they hold themselves accountable. That's where I want to be. But like a lot of people want to be a Navy SEAL. That's what's the amount of people who want to be a Navy SEAL and go try it versus how many actually make it through? Do you know, generally speaking?
Well, so I think you've got people who want it. That's a lot of people maybe. And then you've got people who actually will try to do it. That's even less people. And then you've got people who make it to, even less people than that is the people that make it to like the initial phase of training. And then you've got the people who complete training. And so,
Right.
you've got people along that whole spectrum. Of the people who begin training, the ones who complete the SEAL training process, it's like 20 to 30%, I think, something like that.
And it's not easy because it's some compilation of mental and physical challenge,
Yeah.
intentionally designed to put you through rigorous, hard thing that the majority of people will never be able to accomplish. But I got to imagine you being a swimmer helped you because
For
there's a
water
lot of
stuff,
water.
yeah, for the
A lot
water
of
stuff,
water.
it was like, man, I remember doing 2 mile time swims in training. I was like, this is a break. Like we just check this box and that's what we do. This is not terribly challenging right now.
Okay, so you where most people probably suffered was like felt good to you because you were like so good in the water. And for those who might be listening to this who are like, this is kind of crazy. Like, Navy SEALs go through some initial training. It's called BUDS, right? Is this correct? I think this is correct. It's called BUDS,
Yeah,
and you
basically
probably seen
underwater
that.
demolition seal training. Yeah.
Yeah, and they go through. It's like very physical, very mental. How long? How long is it roughly? Months? Couple months? Three
Yeah, I
months?
think
4 months?
it's like it's a little over 6 months, I think. I think it's 30 weeks.
For the whole BUDS evolution.
Yeah, I think Buds is 30 weeks. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, Buds is about 6 months, a little more than 6 months. But that's if you don't get injured. Most people don't finish with the class they started in. They either get an injury, like a medical role or a performance role. So you've got like different opportunities to succeed in something, and if you don't hit some of those opportunities, you get rolled back for performance as well. Some examples might be like a timed swim, timed run, obstacle course, There's another one where in second phase we're doing like you're doing a lot of scuba certification before you go operate the Drager, which is like a closed circuit underwater breathing system. And in second phase, you get a lot of people who fail to pass pool comp, and so they get a redo, but they just get recycled back to the next class.
Here's what's crazy, and I want to go into leadership. I just want to help people understand, like, so few people can become a Navy SEAL. Well, so few people, to your point, are even willing. They might think they want to do it, but are even willing to try. And of the people who try to, even fewer people make it through. And here's the crazy part: we're literally just talking about the initial training. Like, I think people lose sight of that. They go, Navy SEAL buds, that guy's awesome, like, must be a badass. Like, the amount of training you do then for the rest of your career is like absolutely insane. Like, you guys are always training if you're not actually doing something. And I think people don't realize how many repetitions and how much you really genuinely do become an expert at a thing that you're doing.
Yeah, it's a gauntlet. I mean, I would say when I was in the active SEAL platoons, like you are gone from home 70-80% of the time. That was my experience on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it's quite a sacrifice.
Okay. Sacrifice. That's a word that I like. The two S's, sacrifice and suffer, two things near and dear to my heart. James, here's what we haven't talked about. You came down to Tampa, still active duty. You literally went from like, and I bought some, you were already a good investor. You're already savvy with cash. Like, you were smart. You were doing a couple of things. You were stock market, very good, trading stock. Like, you were all solid. And then you kind of like saw real estate, and not just like saw it, but like went all in over the past 5 years. And I've been like able to see a lot of this. And, I mean, how much real estate have you done in the past 5 years? And what kind of real estate are you doing? Like, what kind of results have you been able to achieve in real estate? And I want to talk about why and how leadership and suffering and all the things you've been through in your past have influenced how you do things today.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to go into all that stuff. It's obviously a journey I'm very passionate about. What have I done in real estate? I don't like, I'm not a big notches on the belt kind of guy. I'm like, oh, I bought my 178th deal or whatever it is. I don't even know the number. It's transaction volume in the triple digits. Um, you know, Here's why I'm not the biggest fan of metrics is because like no one metric usually tells the whole tale. If I say, hey, I have a really big net worth, like, okay, did you inherit it? Okay, I've done a ton of transactions. Okay, what did they make money? All right, you did a ton of revenue. Okay, what was your margin? How was your net from that revenue? So like no one metric ever tells the full tale, but yeah, we've done triple digits of transaction volume. We're doing in our land development business. We're doing over 50 units in Tampa year to date. Some of those I'll entitle and sell off early. We've already done that a few times this year. Others are active projects we've got going on right now. We do end up building some of them. We've got 2 single family homes that are almost permit ready right now. So in terms of development, we've done it's multi 8-figure at this point. I believe it's over 10 million worth of volume in that business. That's what I'm most focused on right now in real estate investing. But I've bought and sold several millions of dollars of rentals, and 10, like as a partner, you got to say that, right? As a partner, I've been involved in a couple tens of millions of dollars of apartment investing too. And again, as a partner, right? That wasn't all me. So
Yeah. Yeah. Numbers numbers can tell all kinds of stories, but you're legit. I know you're legit because I talk to you every day, and you run a profitable business, and you built a meaningful company here in Tampa doing land development, new builds, new construction, ground up, a myriad of things. You've become an expertise at a very unique niche, which I think is powerful. But we could do a whole nother podcast on your skill set in real estate. I'd love to talk to you about what was it that transition. So like when I first met you, you had JPL Woodworks, and you were a great investor. You were already a good investor. You already knew how to like take money, get something at a lesser value, and make it make more money. Like you already knew how to do that from the stock market, from wood, from all these things. So what transition, what did you learn from your time in the military from a leadership perspective that helped you as you got into entrepreneurship in the beginning?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me try to be as succinct as possible because it's kind of like a more comprehensive, thorough answer. Most people can be successful on their own. Most people can find a way to be successful on your own. If you actually want to grow, though, if you want to run a business, if you want to accomplish more than just you can accomplish by yourself, then you have to do it with a team. And whether those are 1099 people or whether those W-2 employees or whether it's just a contractor that you know, at the end of the day, it's other people. And other people, if you find the right people and you keep the right people close and you surround yourself with them, especially people who may be a few steps ahead of you, and you do that well while keeping your team on the right track and make sure you're clearly communicating the vision, delegating and empowering properly. Like a lot of things that I learned in the military, sometimes not the right way, by the way, I make mistakes too. If you do all those things the right way, then you will grow. That's what I kind of equated it to. So your business is never going to surpass your level of leadership. And then also in thinking real estate, you can add kind of a technical aspect to it also. You don't always have to be the top technical expert, but you want to make sure you know them.
Yeah, that's and I think it gets overlooked in the industry quite a bit. It's like you do need to know some stuff. Like you can't do real estate and not know anything. Like that's a fallacy. You talked about specifically building teams. Can you talk about the evolution of your team, maybe like from where you went from primarily like a rental guy, and then you decided like, oh my gosh, I can do all this other crazy stuff. Talk to me about that evolution and maybe even your personal growth as a leader. What did you have to let go so that you can get up to the next level? Like, give me some examples.
Adam, you're gonna laugh at this because this lesson was from you. You were like, "Stop mowing your own yards, man." I was, I
Oh
had
yeah.
rentals and I would charge the tenants like an extra $100 or whatever it was back then, uh, to take care of the landscaping. Instead of paying a landscaper, I would go and personally do it, and then I'd make that extra money. And I started doing the math at the encouragement of Adam, and I realized like, okay, I can be working for $20 an hour doing yard mowing for my own rentals, and that's fine. You can make some money doing it. Or if I focus on deal making, that's a $500, $700 an hour task. Like focus on that. And are you good at it? Are you good at it, and do you enjoy it? And so that's what I really realized through that process. Now, in terms of the evolution of the team, first it was just me. I realized it's pretty tough for me to find a property manager that kind of like meets my expectations, and so I was self managing. I brought on a part time admin. She was with me for probably 6 months, and it surpassed what she was able to do. She was just like a friend. I didn't know her very well. I didn't really screen anything. She was like, "Hey, I'm looking for extra work." I was like, "You're hired. Like, you can breathe, and you're looking for extra work. You're in." And so obviously that had a shelf life to it because we weren't a good long-term cultural fit. Great person. She just, I don't think had a passion to really contribute to the growth and learn real estate. And so, after that, I'll tell you what, I went through a really, really hard time hiring. I went through probably like 4 people in 7 months, and none were a really good fit. Learned a lot of things. Ended up hiring a friend, like the wife of a friend. She did really well, but had to step down for some health reasons. She was awesome. And then that's when I found my current ops manager, basically my COO now. And she's been great. That was 2.5 years ago. So she's been awesome. Once we really got things going with her, then I brought on a full-time marketing manager. So both the COO and the CMO are Americans. And then we have two VAs, one for each department. And then we've got some further growth ahead, but I'm kind of staying quiet about that for right now.
Yeah, you have a really interesting approach, which I actually think is smart. Is you have a top down hiring approach. You're trying to bring on the right leaders into your business who are player coaches. You know,
Mhm.
they're willing to get their hands dirty, which I think makes them super powerful. I'm really interested to hear like what you may have. I'm sure you failed along the way. I'm sure you felt like like even some level of fear, right? I know we like don't want to talk about the word fear because we're like awesome military people, but like you're a little scared. Like this may not work out. I don't really know. It's probably more uncertainty. So like, did you have any fear or uncertainty, whether it was, stopping to cut the grass, hiring your first person, pivoting to build the go ground up on your own. And like you did all these big things along the way. Did you have maybe any fear, uncertainty, and what advice would you give to somebody who is feeling stuck and maybe overwhelmed by fear or uncertainty right now?
What is courage? What is courage? Courage does not mean you're not scared. Courage cannot exist. The definition of courage, it cannot exist if fear is not a factor in it. If fear is not a component, courage cannot exist. Because fear is required, since courage is being uncertain or being fearful, being scared, and choosing to do it anyway. Now, I'm not saying avoid mitigating all risk and just roll the dice. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there is definitely an aspect of this, of seeing that there is some uncertainty, mitigating risk, and identifying the things that you can control that are within your sphere of influence, and choosing to take a step forward anyway. And sometimes you may not need to take a step forward. That's okay too. But I think that's the most important thing to realize. Yeah. Okay. So 2020, mid 2020, I took my foot. I developed this game plan for myself, and I took my foot. If the game plan was a gas pedal, and I stomped it all the way down, farther than the floorboard would go. And this was when, like, the rent, what was it called during COVID? Like, all the tenants got free rent
The
kind of thing.
moratorium. It was like a
Yeah,
moratorium on rents.
yeah, rent moratorium. Of course, interest rates were low. But what I really asked myself, I was like, what is the absolute worst thing that happens? I've lost money before. I've lost a little money before, and I've been okay. So I looked at my personal situation, which I recommend everybody does. Like, I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. I had some extra savings that I had kind of accrued during, like, living really frugally in the military. And so I bought a rental. Okay, well, that went well. I bought another rental. That went well. And I just kept doing it. And then I bought 7 rentals in 9 months. And so all of that time, what I realized, like, my parents were like, are you sure you want to be doing this? This seems risky. Friends who didn't really understand, they're like, this doesn't seem like the time to buy rentals. And when I really took a look into it, I was like, none of these people giving me advice are actually doing it either. So, like, what qualifies them to tell me what I should be doing? Let me figure it out. And it did, with help.
Yeah, I think that's such a savvy approach. Talk about you mentioned risk, right? I looked at the risk compared to, looked at my own personal situation. I actually like how you talk about stacking risk. Can you talk about how you evaluate? Obviously, you come from a SEAL background. You guys building contingencies and look for risk acceptance and risk mitigation all over the place. So how's that transcribed into you evaluating risk today? What's your mental checklist? How do you view risk?
Yeah. So the worst accidents that happen in the military, if you look at when a helicopter crashes with a lot of people on board, or a vehicle rolls over, you look at all these things. When you study the things leading up to those tragic accidents happening, in almost all cases, what you can find is, at some point, someone's or numerous people's enthusiasm, what they felt gung ho about, they thought they could really do it. It surpassed their actual capability. It surpassed their actual capability. And so I take that same lesson in realizing the military. I've had friends pass away, guys I went to training with, where that was the case. And some risks were either overlooked or not properly mitigated. So I take kind of that lesson. I try to apply it to my own deals. So I try to be pretty mindful of, like, where I feel really passionate about my business. I really wanted to grow. Where am I blind? Where are there some blind spots where maybe I'm so enthusiastic about the growth that I'm missing things? That's one thing. The second thing is, every deal we do, I'm a believer in asymmetric bets. So the inherent principle of asymmetric bets, really, really simple, is the consequence of the upside and the likelihood of the upside, does it far outweigh the downside? There usually still is a downside. It doesn't mean you won't lose money. It doesn't mean you can't lose money. It just means it's less likely to occur that you lose money, and the amount or the impact of what you lose far is far less than the upside. So every development deal that we do is by definition asymmetric bet.
Yeah, I like that, and it's just like you are always going to accept risk, and I try to talk to people at nauseam. They want everything to be perfect all the time. I want it to be perfect. It's like nothing's going to be perfect. It's all going to be. You might hit something that feels real good, looks real nice, perfectly aligned, but the reality is in business, at least in my experience and what I've seen, is like you're just trying to stack as much consistent action that is along the right directional path as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can, knowing that some things are not going to work. Some, like, you have you ever lost money, James?
Yeah. Yeah. I've lost money. I've lost money on partnership deals big time.
And like, you probably invested in things like, yeah, I mean, but you stacked out if with the information you had at that time. So we don't have to go into any of those in specifics, but you lost money on a couple endeavors, right? So it's like but when you made those decisions to do that, did you feel like you had stacked all the advantages at the time with the experience and knowledge that you had?
Did I feel like I did have all the advantages?
Yeah, like did you feel like you made the best decision possible at that time? Like you can't look back 2020, like at the time you felt like that thing that you did, that law ended up losing money, was the right decision.
Yeah, at the time, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't have made the decision otherwise. I think it's important we all learn from those kinds of missteps. And it's great if you learn from the mistakes of others and not your own, because then you don't have to pay that price that they paid. But I think it came down to, well, there's a few factors, but one thing is just making bad assumptions. Hey, I know this guy and he's done a really good deal before and he wouldn't be fraudulent with funds. Well, that may not be a good assumption.
Yeah.
It's not always a good assumption. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's almost like that's like a character's hard, man. Because people, to all accounts, a lot of people in your world, you're like, that is a good person, but a good person in a bad situation could make poor decisions. So
it's a great point.
Yeah. Hard to do. Yeah. I think it's just really interesting. And I think where people kind of, get wrapped up and get in their own way is that they want they want conditions to be perfect in order to take action. But I look at guys like you. You're no time in your since high school have you had perfect conditions, and you've just found a way to succeed along the way. Can you how can you help somebody get beyond that, get beyond perfect conditions and taking action?
Okay. If you're in your first 2 years as being an entrepreneur, I really, really want you to listen to this. If you're in your first 2 years as an entrepreneur and you've learned enough to where you're confident in your ability to mitigate the risk, I want to tell you this story. I have 6x'd my net worth in the past 5 years. From 5 years ago, there are people that are still waiting to do their first deal who I talk to, who are waiting for that home run. And I've made no progress. They made zero progress because they were waiting for the perfect situation to come where they could swing at it. And I swung at every base hit possible. And it made all the difference. I've probably only hit like 3 or 4 home runs in my whole career, but I've hit hundreds of base hits.
That's really powerful, man. I think, well, dude, hitting 3 or 4 home runs is pretty sweet too.
Yeah.
Those are good ones. That's awesome. I love it. I'm really excited. So you're going to come out to, you're going to be at our Clearwater event, the 7-Figure Flipping Mastermind event. You're actually going to be opening keynote on mindset and leadership. So I'm really excited to see what you talk about during that and how you're such a savage. Like, people don't understand like the focus and willingness to suffer, just to suffer until you succeed. Like, I feel like that's the thing that most people are missing. For me personally, it's like, you're not willing to do the thing that's hard long enough, and consistently enough, or to upgrade your own skills if you feel like you're not smart enough, those kind of things. I want to go into some bonus questions real quick. What's one thing you believe about leadership that most people would disagree with?
This is really good. I feel like I have multiple. Something I believe about leadership that most people would disagree with is some of the most elite leaders are frequently misunderstood.
What do you mean by that?
They can be extremely effective and respected, but perhaps not well liked. It's great to be well liked. Feels good. I feel liked by other people. That feels good. Does that get in the way of your effectiveness?
Can. It can.
You can
That's
do both.
crazy.
People can do
Yeah.
both, but the wrong people who like your leadership style is not a good match for. Those people are definitely misunderstanding you. They don't have the same vision. They don't have the same standards. They couldn't possibly understand me.
I mean, I go back to the idea of suffering. I'm a sucker for punishment as an idiom, that we have said in our world. And until recently, I heard you and I were at this event together and we heard Tim Tebow talk. And he's like, hey, did you know the Greek root of the word passion is actually suffering or enduring? I was like, okay, now we're talking. You're passionate about something. If you're truly passionate about something, you're willing to suffer for it, was his point. Like, okay, how passionate are you about the thing that you're espousing? This is what I call the say-do gap. And we see this all the time. You say you want this, but you're not willing to do what's necessary in order to get it, right? The say-do gap, like it's the most prevalent thing. So it means to me, you're not really that passionate about it. When people say follow your passions, sure, follow your passions. Hopefully they make you money. But if you're passionate about the thing that is making you money, like you're going to be willing to suffer and do it for so much longer, which increases your likelihood of winning exponentially. Like 5 years ago, I was dumb. I sucked. Like, period. Like, I wasn't that good. The amount of skills I've been able to acquire in 5 years, just like you, like 5 years ago, you 5x or 6x your net worth. But it wasn't because of your net worth. You 6x your skill set. You 6x your leadership. You 6x your mindset. There was a point in time, 5 years ago, you were cutting your own grass. You were like, I mean, I'm a millionaire, but I would have cut my own grass because like I'll save money. It's like you're losing money. Boom, mindset shift. You up your mindset. You go on to the next thing.
100%.
And now you're surpassed so many. Like now I'm like trying to follow you. I'm trying to go upstream with you. Like, oh my gosh, you're pushing me to be better. But I think you were willing to suffer for long enough to get, whether it was the skill set you were improving or the mindset piece you were improving or any of the things along the way. It's always something though, because you're willing to go through what it takes to go through it. And I think to me, that's one of the things that I'm probably most proud of you as a friend, and something that I look up to you from that perspective is where you're just like, you are willing to do whatever it takes to achieve the thing that you set your mind to, which I think is really hard for people.
I appreciate that.
I want to ask you.
I don't think this is not a self-glamorizing topic that I'm about to say, but I'll tell you, I think most people were not built to be successful entrepreneurs.
Totally agree.
Because most people, by definition, that is average. Most people do not have the level of persistence and the amount of consistency that's going to be required to generate the results to be successful that it really takes.
Totally agree. I totally agree. It's the say-do gap. I mean, they think it looks good. They see the marketing. They see the BS on the internet, and they're like, oh, I want that. So, I'm not sure if you really do want that. Let me ask you a couple more questions. What's a daily habit or routine that you refuse to skip no matter what?
Every single day. I mean, I guess I work out probably like 8 times a week, but it's not every single day. Like I might take a day off Saturday or Sunday. Man, that's more of a mental thing really than physical. I'll tell you, when I have my lowest lows, I'm usually eating wrong. and getting too into the weeds with a problem that I'm blowing out of proportion in business, and I probably haven't worked out in like 2 days. My lowest lows I can ever remember in business. I'm like, oh, what did you expect? Your inputs were trash. So I would
Yeah.
say I would say like moving my body or working out. That's really good for me.
Is it the mental aspect? So the physical increases the mental for you. If you don't do the physical, then you let a lot of junk in. Like, can you kind of just go into that a little deeper? Like, has that
I
always
think
been that way?
um
Do
I
you
don't
feel
know
that
because
way when you're in?
I've never really tried different, but it seems to work for me pretty well. And I think it's a chemical aspect. I think there's when you work out and you exercise your body or you do something challenging, even if you don't have to set a record every day, but like there's a chemical aspect of you feeling good about accomplishing progress.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. It's there's so many components to that, but mentally, physically, that progress, the dopamine hit. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot. I think the thing that most people are challenged with when it comes to physical fitness is two things. One, just like and how it can help you a lot of ways in your life, and I watch you model this is it's usually starting, whether it's that morning, just getting up and going, which you do every Saturday morning. I see you on doing your thing, right? Like just start, like just getting up and going. And then two is just doing it consistently. And the problem is expectations. Like we visualize this working out and this fitness that we're going to do, and we want it to be this thing. But really, the person who just shows up and does something every day is usually the person that's going to win that race in the long run.
Yeah.
Consistency is so critical. Okay, last two things. What's a book that has shaped your leadership philosophy?
The obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way. Okay, rapid fire. The best advice you'd give your 25-year-old or 20-year-old self.
I'll go with 20-year-old, and I would say buy a house. 20, I was still in college, so I couldn't really buy a house. But like, let's go in between. 22, buy a house, rent out the extra rooms, do it again every year.
That's awesome, man. Well, James, thanks for coming on today. You haven't been on the Seven Figure Flipping podcast yet, so I'm glad to have had the opportunity to talk to you. You do so much for the community, the real estate community, just the leadership you have in Tampa. I tell people all the time, James is like the mayor of Tampa when it comes to Tampa real estate. He is the guy. If people wanted to reach out to you, how could they find you, get a hold of you?
Yeah, real simple. Our best platform is probably Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. It's at JPL Invest.
JPL Invest at Instagram. We'll make sure we get that on the show notes. And also, if you're just like in Tampa, you'll know he holds this incredible meetup. When's the next meetup date? Let's put that out there.
It's
November.
Here, let me see.
He holds a free real estate meetup, and over 300 people come to this thing in Tampa. It's literally the most insane thing you'll ever see for a real estate meetup, and it's super elite. It's literally called the Elite Investor Meetup, and everything about it's elite. The locations elite down in Hyde Park. The field people are dressed up. It's incredible. When's the
Yeah,
next one?
Wednesday, November 12th at 7 p.m. So if people want to grab a ticket for that, it's no charge, but we do check for tickets at the door. So if people want to grab a ticket for that, just check the link in my bio on my Instagram account and they can find it there.
Boom. Yeah, I knew. I figured it'd be up there. So yeah, I would encourage you if you're in Florida, it's worth making the trip and coming to November 12th, which is usually a Wednesday. It's usually on a Wednesday evening. So really, really, really awesome real estate meetup. Highly, highly recommend. James, I appreciate you, brother. And I'll see you probably before this, but I'm really excited to have you at the Clearwater event in November.
Yeah, I'm so excited to speak, and thanks for the honor of kicking off the event. I'm going to bring my A game and pour into your community. I think what you guys are accomplishing is so impressive, helping so many investors. Dude, this is so incredible. Like, my success hasn't been me. It's been the people that I surrounded myself with, and you building that with Seven Figure, legitimately helping people in challenging market circumstances that we're seeing right now in 2025. It's inspiring as heck, man. I love it.
Oh man, I appreciate you. I'm blushing over here. Well, I appreciate you, and for everybody For everybody who's listening, definitely go check out James. Go check out the Elite Investor Mindset Group. Thank you guys. I'll see you on the next one.